you probably exceed this price point. The multi-day guests, it works out to about $750 per day. Right now, we're planning on having a 3-day experience and a 4-day experience, and that includes that's all inclusive. Everything that you need to go through the experience, your food, all of your food, your accommodations, because there's actually a room in the settlement that you're going to get for the time you're there. All of that is included in these prices. Something we're going to be doing moving forward, we've done some marketing analysis. We're going to be doing some more analysis and determine, well, okay, do we really want to do a 3-day and a 4-day? Maybe there's a big market for a 2-day. Maybe people want to stay for a week. But this is, again, a starting point to help us put together our financials. So, I think that this is a pretty compelling concept. I think that there certainly is a value proposition here. It's certainly going to be a unique destination, and that's very important because you want to distinguish yourself in the market, separate yourself from others. I think the idea that we're tapping into this new space phenomenon and the entrepreneurism, the innovation, the constantly changing technology, I think this is going to bring people back to the center because they're going to want to see what the latest and greatest things are. The fact that it's affordable and accessible, it's someplace that tourists are already streaming by in droves, and they're interested in this. And the Mars settlement experience, I think this harkens back to the frontier spirit of America, wagons west, and all of that. So I think that this can have some meat behind it. In terms of the site, here is the 75-acre site. We've gone through a master planning process, which is very important in terms of the schedule, because there are political approvals that are necessary to get the site rezoned and planned out, and those are time critical. So right now what we're looking at is just doing the, if you see the center building with the A on it, is there a laser pointer here? I can figure out how to, there we go. This building here, this would be the attraction, the core attraction, inner space. But we realized that there was a potential here for a lot more than just the attraction. So there are other site elements that we built in here. And the site plan might change a little bit, but this was good enough for our planning purposes with the city and the county and all of that. Other elements might include, if I can get the pointer to work. Oh, well. Oh, here we go. Might include, this is a themed resort. This would be a themed restaurant. Some retail space, maybe some kind of specialty theater. This would be a convention center and hotel space. This would be for a branch campus. If you think about it, there's a lot of new technology that's going to be on display here. And so there might be universities that are interested in partnering with us and having special programs on the site. In fact, we're talking to an entity right now that may be interested in putting a branch campus on the site. And then this would be some commercial light industrial space. The idea is that we want this to not just be a purely entertainment-associated facility, but we also want to have real research and development happening here. And I think that there can be a real synergy between those two different pursuits, if you will. So something that we develop on the research side, maybe we can display in the center. Something that we see in the center, a partner we bring in might throw a light bulb on for us and say, hey, wait a second, that solves a problem we have over here. So we want to kind of facilitate the research through the entertainment and vice versa. In terms of our target market, they're what we call the space curious. So I'm sure that almost anybody in this room, I've already got you sold. I'm going to have a Mars habitat there and an environment. I know that you guys are going to show up. The problem is I'm not so sure that if I only market to your types, that I'm going to have sufficient market to make this a viable business venture. So what we want to do is we want to tap the space curious, if you will. So these are these people that have some interest in space exploration. Maybe they're not the space committed, as I might call some of you guys. But they've read some science fiction, they watch it on TV, they're interested in science and technology. I think for the Mars settler experience, if you're interested in kind of a role-playing experience, something more where there's more personal risk involved than just going to a museum. That's very low personal risk. But where you actually have to play a role and put on a persona and all of this, this could be very attractive to that type. In terms of market validation, this was extremely important. When you go out there and you try to raise investment, you have to prove that there is a market. It's not enough to just say, oh, well, we think that people will come to this thing if we build it, so give me millions of dollars now and let's build it. No, the investors are not going to take that and accept it. You have to prove that there's a market. And so we've been very careful about this. As we developed the guest experience concept, we've worked with the Dick Pope Senior Institute for Tourism Studies at the UCF Rosen College of Hospitality Management, and they have conducted 4 focus group studies for us. So they've pulled in groups of Orlando tourists and sat them down with various images and information about our concept at the time and said, well, what do you think of this? What are your concerns? Would this interest you? What else would you like to see? And we've taken that information and we put it back into the development of the guest experience. So that's driven what we've done to this point. Once the concept pretty much crystallized and we had some of the architectural renderings and some of the artwork and all of this, then what we did is we, again, working with the same partners, we inserted questions and a description and a picture into a study that is done every year. It's done multiple times per year. It's called Travel Horizons. And what they do is they select a sample of 2,200 U.S. adults, and they select the people such that this sample is representative of the national population. So that's very important because then the results from this study you can directly interpret into, well, okay, if 20% of the study said that they were interested in this, then that can be translated into 20% of the national population. And that's assuming a perfectly informed American public. Obviously, you're not going to be able to reach all of those people. So then what you do is you multiply those numbers by some factor, say like 10%. Okay, we think with our marketing efforts we can be 10% effective at reaching adults in the U.S. population. And that translates then into how big your addressable market size is. Long conversation, but the end result of this study is that this has got a lot of legs behind it. Basically, and I won't give you all of the details, but over 50% of the U.S. population would be interested in going to this center. So they're very strong numbers. We've got a lot of detail about demographics, who those people are, how old they are, what their economic level is, and all of that, which is very important for us as we develop a marketing strategy. But first and foremost, this showed us that this is validated, our price point is validated, our throughput numbers are validated, all the things that drive our financial model. And it's the kind of thing that you can take to a bank or you can take to an investor and say, look, we've done our homework. It's not just our supposition that this thing is going to be a go and going to make money. So I mentioned earlier that there are potential competitors out there. Let's discuss a few of those. And actually, for an investor, competition is not a scary thing. It's more scary if there aren't competitors. If you have a business concept that's completely unproven, no one else out there in the marketplace is doing, that's a very scary proposition for an investor. They want to see that there's competition. It proves that there's a market. And it's also, in the case of our particular theme, these are demand drivers, There's an expression that one of our advisors uses that says, he says, the appetite comes with the eating. And so people that have had some exposure to this, to space themes, are going to be interested in coming to our attraction. Obviously, people say, okay, based on your location, your primary competitor is going to be Kennedy Space Center. I don't like to view them as a competitor. If you think about it, how many interchanges or intersections where there's a gas station where you only have one gas station? Typically it's multiple gas stations. Why is that? Because people get to know, well, that's a place where I can go for gas. And so I think us going there, setting up shop not far from Kennedy Space Center, it's going to drive attendance not only at our facility but also at Kennedy Space Center. You'll see their attendance numbers go up. Also, if you think about it, their mix is a little bit different. They're primarily focused on preserving and presenting the NASA brand, so telling the history and what the current government programs are doing. Also, they really don't have much in terms of new space or Mars focus. So I think we're different enough that we should complement each other and not really be going head to head. Some other things, which again I view more as demand drivers, mission space at Disney Epcot Center, very realistic G-force launch simulation. It's really impressive. I urge you all to go check it out at some point. Unfortunately, the whole idea is that, okay, you're going to Mars, you get off the centrifuge, and there's a room here with a bunch of video games. And it's like, what? No, I thought we were going to Mars. Where's the Mars part? So, you know, inaccessible surface story. It's not real science-based. So I think that, again, it's a demand driver, but it's not a competitor. Obviously, there are a number of NASA centers throughout the country, some with quite substantial visitor complexes associated with them in Huntsville, in Houston. And they have some good programs and education programs. But again, not much in terms of focus on new space or on Mars. And then other things like that I mentioned earlier, science and aerospace museums, the Smithsonian. There's some limited new space elements. For instance, here's the Spaceship One vehicle hanging in the Air and Space Museum. But again, not much in terms of focus on new space and Mars. And then the places where the real development work is happening. So the Mojave Air and Spaceport, Spaceboat America. But again, these places are remote, relatively inaccessible. It's not developed around the idea, let's bring back mass numbers of tourists through. Another very important thing as you go out and you try to raise money for a project like this is you've got to demonstrate that you have the right team to execute this vision that you have. So you can have a great idea, you can have great financials, but if you don't have the right team, then they're going to say, well, you know, I'm not going to invest in this. We've addressed that head on. We have two former Disney Imagineers that are working with us. The first is Hugh Darley. He was also a Paramount Pictures executive, North American Entertainment Parks planner. He has a company based in Orlando called Idea Inc., and he has helped us with a lot of the guest experience conceptualization to this point. He has actually been selected as the executive producer for this project. So once we're able to raise all of the funding and get this green-lighted, then his team will design in detail the guest experience. Let's see, what else? He has partnered with Michael Yeager, who is the second Disney Imagineer that's working on the project, and Mark Mazzanti, and they're with a company called My Design. This company did the Apollo Treasures Gallery at Kennedy Space Center, which is very nicely done. They also did the Boeing 787 Dreamliner Gallery. So if you're a big airline executive and you're interested in buying a 787 or a fleet of 787s from Boeing, what you do is you go out to Seattle and they have this whole building which is kind of like a mini theme park where you go in and there are different sections. So okay, I want to learn about the first class seating. I want to learn about the galley areas. I want to learn about the bathroom technology. I want to learn about all these different sections of the plane, and then you're designing your Dreamliner as you go through, and it's all computerized. It takes your design to that point and brings it to the next section. So this facility was designed and created by these guys at My Design. So they're also very technically oriented. They'll talk engineering with you all day, whereas Hugh is more of the big idea guy. So there's a good balance there on our team. And then these are some of the folks that work with My Design and Idea. Another thing I should mention real quick, Hugh's brother, John, is extremely strong on the financials and the operating side. And so they've helped us develop an operating budget, a staffing plan, which is very realistic. It's based off of past experience working with Disney. Some of the other folks that are involved in the project, we have a couple of key entertainment associated advisors. Number one is Dr. Abraham